Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf. Boy, do we have an amazing show today. So much shit is happening. It's pure insanity what is going on. So we're going to talk about Jeff Flake. He is literally flaking out again. Holy crap. We're going to talk about that. We got maybe the reason Jeff Flake flaked out, or maybe not. Nonetheless, there's a very interesting interaction between Jeff Flake and some women in an elevator. Trust me, you'll understand once I play you the video. Now, we also have the American Bar Association coming out against Kavanaugh himself. Twitter talking about the real meaning of boof and devil's triangle. Look, hey, that's what people are talking about, apparently. And we also have some strange edits on Wikipedia. Weird. And then we'll talk about the Trump administration finally admitting that there is climate change. But there's an interesting twist. Tune in to see what happens, or stay tuned. And then we also have some non-related or non-Kavanaugh related news, non-Flake related news too, but has been dominating the headlines, and we will be talking about it here today. So guys, before I jump into the stories, please remember to give us a like and a share, or at least a share if you're hate watching. I see you guys. I see you. So yes, if you're hate watching or not hate watching, please share anyway. That helps out. Or if you want to rage against me with your friends together, that's fine. It's all fine with me. You know, free exchange of ideas and speech and all that stuff. So please do that. So again, Insane Friday. Before I get into the show, couple pieces of news, I guess. For one, subscriber drive. 89,200 subscribers. We are nearing 90,000, which is amazing. So if you can help us, if you are not subscribed, you can help push us to 100,000, I think very, very soon. So that'll be quite awesome to hit that mark. Okay, anyway. Other ways that you can support the show, other than subscribe, is, of course, use the super chat, or you can also go to our Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, or you can do both. Either helps, or as I said before, just like and share if you can't help in that way, and you are helping your own way, which is equally important. Okay, anyway, that said, let's go to our first piece of news. What the hell is going on in the Senate? Okay. So after the Kavanaugh hearings yesterday, where we heard from both Brett Kavanaugh and Christine Blasey Ford on the allegations of sexual assault, Jeff Flake, who is actually a very pivotal member in that committee, a very pivotal swing vote, came out and said, look, this is a complicated situation, but I will rule in favor, I will vote in favor of pushing forward Kavanaugh's confirmation. So, look, that is not great news, to be honest with you. At least not great news if you care about abortion rights, if you care about, rulings that are not favored enormously towards corporations, and also if you care about these allegations against him. Now, look, what happened earlier today is he said he was going to vote for Kavanaugh, and he did vote for Kavanaugh. So, but there was what we saw just recently, just 10, 15 minutes before we went live is a little bit of political horse trading. So let me explain. On party lines earlier today, the Senate Judiciary Committee voted to advance Brett Kavanaugh's Supreme Court nomination to the full Senate. But a crucial GOP senator, Flake, said his final vote would be contingent on something very specific. Now, what is that? Well, it appears that he traded his vote for the promise of a FBI investigation. Flake said earlier, I think it would be proper to delay the floor vote for up to, but not more than, 1 week in order to let the FBI do an investigation, limited in time and scope to the current allegations that are there. So, look, what was happening before we went live is they went into the back rooms and then they talked. He was talking with his friend Chris Coons, who's of course a Democratic senator, and so they had some backroom discussions, and then came out and said, "Okay, well, I will be in favor of this, of advancing your nomination if you give me that investigation." So now let me tell you why that's actually not good. Basically, we are now putting the fate of Judge Kavanaugh in the hands of both Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell, who, if I recall, there were some, promises that Mitch McConnell would look into doing something on DACA recipients in exchange for certain votes. Now, Mitch McConnell didn't do that. Mitch McConnell said, I will take it under advisement. I will give you a vote. Oh, look, I didn't give you a vote. What are you going to do about it? You see, I already got your vote on something that I wanted, but that doesn't mean I'm going to give you anything in return. But that's not how this works. No. How it works is that you give me everything that I want, and then I do nothing for you. I tell you to go pound sand. That's how this works. So I'm afraid that this is, look, number one, a great way to give Jeff Flake some cover, right? Because he's been getting pounded by not only the media, but of course by activists. I've got a video later for that. But he's putting himself in a safe position, basically handing off this vote to both Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. Donald Trump has to authorize an FBI investigation to happen. Now, if that still happens, which is very, I think, unlikely, then look, if it happens, as I said, very, very unlikely. I don't know what's going to come out, and they can still vote yes after whatever the investigation finds. So this is terrible, terrible politics, or I should say policy, but actually for Jeff Flake, not bad politics. So that's what's going on with this. So, and look, as far as the full Senate goes, you've got two senators, two Democrats that have not explicitly said no yet. You still have Joe Manchin. So Joe Manchin and John Tester, Democrats in red states, still, after all this, saying, we're not sure if we're going to vote no on Kavanaugh. Are you at all surprised? But anyway, now, let me give you some more detail here about some of the chaos that's happened in the Senate earlier today. Flake's remarks sparked confusion among the lawmakers as the committee's Republican chairman, Chuck Grassley, called for a vote in the seconds following Flake's announcement. The top Democrat on the panel, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, asked what exactly the committee was voting on. We were voting on the motion to report the nomination to the floor. Well, that vote did not happen. So, and it was actually very late. And again, afterwards, we have this. We voted to advance, but on the condition of an FBI investigation. Right now, the vote is ongoing, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. But, wow. Now, Lindsey Graham had an interesting reaction as well. Graham says, quote, "I think I know what happened. It doesn't matter what we say here. I love this committee, but we are not the majority leader." So he also said someone's got to explain this to Trump. I guess that's my job. So Lindsey Graham is probably going to firmly plant his ass, or I'm sorry, his lips on Donald Trump's ass to try to explain what the hell is going on. Good luck, because Donald Trump's got the, mental faculties of a 6-year-old. So good luck explaining that one. But nonetheless, this is going to be an interesting development. Again, I don't have much faith that this is going to put a stop, or that they're even going to have an FBI investigation into Kavanaugh. But it looks like at least Jeff Flake is safe from certain criticism. Lovely. Okay. Alrighty then. So earlier today, Jeff Flake voted in favor to advance Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court. Now, it came with a little bit of a promise to, oh, no, we'll look into, his background. We'll do an FBI investigation. That, of course, is not necessarily binding, as it involves both Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump to adhere to that promise. To which I say, oh, you're going to trust Mitch McConnell? You're going to trust Mitch McConnell? No, not at all. And not only that, but Donald Trump, as I said, has to authorize an investigation. Not going to happen. But a lot of people are wondering, what could be the motivation behind Jeff Flake's flakiness? Well, there might be one thing, and this is actually being widely cited, look, he might have been shamed into it. Now, while he was standing in an elevator before his vote, at least 2 women walked up to him and basically let them know, start that again. While he was standing in an elevator, 2 women walked up to him and basically let him know how they felt about his vote. Let's take a look.
I understand that you said just last night you felt that the witness was in fact credible.
On Monday, I stood in front of your office with Addie Barkan. I told the story of my sexual assault. I told it because I recognized in Dr. Ford's story that she's telling the truth. What you are doing is allowing someone who actually violated a woman to sit in the Supreme Court. This is not tolerable. You have children in your family. Think about them. I have 2 children. I cannot imagine that for the next 50 years, they will have to have someone in the Supreme Court who has been accused of violating a young girl. What are you doing, sir?
I was sexually assaulted and nobody believed me. I didn't tell anyone, and you're telling all women that they don't matter, that they should just stay quiet, because if they tell you what happened to them, you're going to ignore them. That's what happened to me, and that's what you're telling all women in America, that they don't matter. They should just keep it to themselves, because if they have told the truth, they're just going to help that man to power anyway. That's what you're telling all of these women. That's what you're telling me right now. Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter, that what happened to me doesn't matter, and that you're going to let people who do these things into power. That's what you're telling me when you vote for him. Don't look away from me. Look at me and tell me that it doesn't matter what happened to me, that you'll let people like that go into the highest court of the land and tell everyone what they can do to their bodies.
Oh, he looked incredibly uncomfortable in there. He's like, I can't get out. I'm literally cornered in an elevator. I can't shut the door, and I have no choice but to let this woman yell at me. Oh, it was great. That was awesome. Look, here's the thing. Now, was he shamed into making this deal, like having the FBI look into it? You could say maybe. I say maybe, because I don't necessarily know what's in the guy's head, right? But I do think it also could be a way to do political cover. I mean, again, basically he's handing off this very important vote, since he already voted yes to advance him to the Senate. So now he's saying, hey man, it's off me now. Yes, I voted to confirm him, but only if we have an investigation. But you already made your vote. Now you're relying on both Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump to put forward that FBI investigation. Again, Trump's got to authorize it. Do you think that's going to happen? No. I don't think that's going to happen at all. But, oh man, nonetheless, got to give a lot of credit to these brave women for coming out. One of them is Maria Gallagher. She's been identified as. And she's like, hey, don't you look away from me. Don't you look away from me when I'm telling you exactly what's going on. That's what we need to do. That is incredibly powerful. And look, if he wasn't moved by that, if that's not part of his calculation, because look, I always tend to believe that this is all political calculations, but then again, sometimes people are actually human. So maybe a little bit of part of that got to him, or maybe I'm just being incredibly, too fair to him. I don't know. But for me, as a human being, I can't sit and listen to that and not be impacted in some way. So maybe I hope that there's a little bit of humanity in Jeff Flake, but the cynical part of me comes back and says, nah, man, it's all political. He doesn't actually care. And so he's just doing this for good political gain. I don't know. I guess that's up to you guys to figure out how you see this. Okay. Well, something happened earlier today during the discussion of confirming Brett Kavanaugh. Now, right now, Brett Kavanaugh has been advanced to the Senate based on a deal between Chris Coons and Jeff Flake, Democrat and Republican senator, respectively, coming to a deal where they would advance him, or at least Flake would be able to advance him, and have an FBI investigation that would last 1 week. So again, look, the Democrats, I've got problems with the Democrats because the Democrats could say, no, we want a more thorough investigation that lasts longer to the midterms. They could say that, and that would definitely do a delay. Democrats aren't demanding that. They're saying it could take a week tops. And in the case of Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas, it took 3 days. So this entire narrative, first that the Republicans came out with, is you're just trying to delay, so you can stop Kavanaugh. And then, if you take back the Congress after the midterms, well, then you're just going to block us till, forever, right? Until you guys get back into power. Well, that's not what's happening here. Okay, so a week tops, that would not put us over the midterms, and you still would have plenty of time to try to confirm Kavanaugh anyway, depending on the results of that investigation. So the interesting development here is here you have the Bar Association that has decided to also join the chorus of people asking for an FBI investigation into Kavanaugh. So what's interesting about that is that right now, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump both hold the keys to this investigation. Donald Trump has to authorize it, and Mitch McConnell also has to call for it, and has to rally and whip his members into calling for an investigation. But what's really rare about this is the Bar Association does not normally come out and say this. And I want to give you their statement here, which is really interesting. In a strongly worded letter obtained by CNN on Thursday, the organization said that it is making the extraordinary request because of the American Bar Association's respect for the rule of law and due process under law, siding with concerns voiced by Senate Democrats since Christine Blasey Ford's decades-old allegations became public. They write, the basic principles that underscore the Senate's constitutional duty of advice and consent on federal judicial nominees require nothing less of a careful examination of the accusations and facts by the FBI, said Robert Carlson, president of the organization. Now, continues by saying, each appointment to our nation's highest court, as with all others, is simply too important to rush a vote. Now, look, before I continue with that, gee, I wonder why they were trying to rush the vote. I mean, look, if you want to play politics and you don't want an investigation, because the possibility of finding that there is something in their past that corroborates the rest of these assault claims, well, it would look really bad if you rushed the vote. That would probably put a stop to that confirmation process, which then could end up setting Republicans back past the midterms. They don't want that. They don't want that investigation to happen. That's why especially Brett Kavanaugh does not want that to happen. But the Bar Association does. They said, deciding to proceed without conducting an additional investigation will not only have a lasting impact on the Senate's reputation, but it will also negatively affect the great trust necessary for the American people to have in the Supreme Court. So, look, for me personally, if I were in Judge Brett Kavanaugh's shoes, right, and those would be some crazy shoes to fill, apparently. Look, I would want an investigation if I was innocent, right? I would say, okay, yes, please look into this. These are terrible, horrible allegations. I didn't do it. You know, yes, I had some wild parties. Yes, I made some mistakes, but I didn't rape a person. I didn't get involved in rape trains. These are terrible allegations, and I want to clear my good name. So yes, please do an investigation. Take as much time as you want. I will be 100% cooperative, and I will make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, I am proven to be innocent. But he has never called for an investigation. He's called for hearings, which is different because that's what they were having yesterday. In fact, when he was grilled by Democratic senators, they asked him, why don't you call for an investigation? Why don't you call for an investigation? And I think, look, it's very rare that I give Kamala Harris and Cory Booker praise, but actually they pressed the issue. And they said, call for an investigation. Call for an investigation. And Kavanaugh refused to do so. And it kind of makes you wonder why. Now, going back to the Bar Association, during those hearings, Kavanaugh kept bringing that up. In fact, he said, I was thoroughly vetted by the American Bar Association. And he kept bringing that up as part of his qualifications. Turns out, the American Bar Association now is saying, actually, you might want to do a little bit more vetting. That's awesome. Lindsey Graham, famously, going on a rant yesterday, also called the American Bar Association the gold standard. Not so golden anymore, is it? I wonder how they're going to react to this news. Now, in the letter, the president says that the Senate must remain a, quote, an institution that will reliably follow the law and not politics, saying that a thorough FBI investigation will demonstrate its commitment to a Supreme Court that is above reproach. So is that going to happen? Look, I hope it does. I hope there is an investigation, because we deserve to know the truth about what Kavanaugh did. Now, look, I actually wish the conversation were more about Kavanaugh's stances on policy issues. For example, stances on reproductive rights and on ruling in favor of corporations. But that is not what the discussion is anymore. Now the discussion is about whether or not this Supreme Court justice did alleged sexual assault and participated, or at least didn't notify authorities about rape trains at parties. We deserve to know the truth. And you have all these different organizations now that are coming out and saying we should have an FBI investigation, we should look into these allegations, and we should make sure that we know the truth about what happened before the court puts a possible sexual predator on the highest court in the land. I don't think that's too much to ask. Okay. All right. So let me take a break here. We will come back after that, couple minutes here. So if you have any super chats or any comments or questions or things like that, and I'm going to look for some updates to some of these stories as well, because you never know what's going to happen. We'll talk about that all after the break. So stay right here. We'll be back around the nation. All right, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf. Okay, so we have some updates here. Let's see. We'll go into check Twitter here. Apparently, Lisa Murkowski is also signing on for an FBI investigation, but so far, nobody else. Great. Good job. Awesome. Now, also, let's see. There was something else that I was checking. Okay, never mind. So we've got some super chats here as well. Let's go and read those. Sarge Check says, "Hi, Jeff. Sorry, missed the show. Internet, happy birthday. Thank you. Have a frosty one on me. Really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you." Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Sarge. You're awesome. Shane McAndrew asks, "Did you hear about Hillary Clinton campaigning for Andrew Gillum? I think he's a faux progressive, and I'm sad to learn about it." All right, so I've heard a lot about this too. So I think it's a stupid political move. Campaigning with Hillary Clinton, do you realize how unpopular Hillary Clinton is in Florida? Or just all around? That's a terrible move. But then again, Gillum did support Hillary Clinton. So as far as him being a faux aggressive, so I don't know, policy-wise, right? So does it make sense for a politician to switch around his message to target a specific audience? Like when you're in a Democratic primary, to basically talk about, hey, I'm super, super progressive, right? And then during a general, switch around your rhetoric to be like, hey, here's how I can try to appeal to people who are not necessarily progressive. That would make sense, but the thing that would trouble me is if he decides to not be in favor of the policies. See, the rhetoric doesn't matter so much to me. It's actually if you're going to push for policy or not when you actually get into office. As far as I know, Gillum hasn't changed his policies. But there is time to, there's obviously a lot of time before we figure that out. If he's continuing to stay with that that policy. So I hope he does not change. But okay. Anyway. All right. Let's move on here. But thank you for the questions. All right. So yesterday, Brett Kavanaugh was testifying before the Senate Judiciary Committee on the sexual assault allegations. Now, they decided to go back to his yearbook, Kavanaugh's yearbook, and ask some questions on what he might have meant by some certain phrases. Let's just keep it at that, right? Now, Sheldon Whitehouse had asked about what certain terms meant. These terms would be Devil's Triangle and boof. So, what is that? Okay, well, let's go to the Devil's Triangle, right? So now, first, he asked him about that. Okay, what does that mean? Oh, no, it's just an innocent drinking game. Really? Okay. Now, is it an innocent drinking game? Well, not so much. Now, Kavanaugh claims that this involved 3 glasses in a triangle, and it's sort of like a game like quarters, right? Oh, hey, it's quarters. So, you've got these 3 glasses, they're set up in a triangle, and you flip your quarter in, and then if it lands in it, you got to drink it, right? So it's just an innocent drinking game. among, you know, high schoolers and college kids. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, what does it actually mean? Well, according to the Urban Dictionary, Devil's Triangle equals 2 men and 1 woman involved in a sexual act where you're not supposed to look the other man in the eyes. Now, if we're using that definition with the context of what the allegations against Judge Kavanaugh, well, that's very interesting. You come up with something very, very interesting. Now, there's another term, boof, right? Now, boof is apparently, well, you guys familiar with some of the stories that we did with college kids soaking tampons in alcohol and then putting them up you know where? That's kind of the definition of a boof. So now, after his testimony, Twitter does what it does best, and they decided to roast Kavanaugh over his definitions. Now, John Trumbull asks, is it perjury if you lie about the meanings of boof and devil's triangle under oath? Asking for a Supreme Court nominee. Let's see. There's more. RW tweets, a devil's triangle is a threesome between 2 men and 1 woman. Boof is taking in alcohol through the rectum to get really high, or she's really drunk. Please look up both in Urban Dictionary. So there's your definitions right there. Zat Pekanis says, this was such a stupid lie. Everybody in America is Googling Devil's Triangle and seeing it's not a drinking game. Jonathan Allen tweets, C-SPAN caller, Devil's Triangle is not a drinking game. It's an encounter with 2 men and a woman. Steve Scully keeps straight face. It's amazing that you have people calling into C-SPAN to explain what this actually is. Brad Friedman, friend of the show, by the way, tweets in, no, boof is not flatulence. Does he have a better definition for the word perjury? Brandon Wall says, all I needed was to do, the C-SPAN caller again, all I needed to do was do a Google search and type in Devil's Triangle, and it definitely is not a drinking game. And Debbie Turner says, Kavanaugh has lied about what the terms boof and Devil's Triangle mean to the Supreme Court. So why would we believe anything else he said? So, look, this is the reason I bring this up. It's fun, right? But also, it kind of shows you who this guy is. Now, what do I mean by that? Basically, if he lies about these things in order to cover up his party guy past. Now, look, I don't care if you partied in the past, right? I've partied in the past. I'm sure a lot of you have had parties in the past. And probably some of you have done drinking games. Some of you, maybe not. Maybe not have done drinking games. Whatever. Okay. Look, if you're having fun, you're having fun, right? As long as you don't do sexual assault. And that's what we're talking about here, right? So the real crux of this, the real problem that we are having right now with these hearings is that Kavanaugh keeps lying about these things. Why? In order to cover up his party boy past, which again is fine if you're a party boy. And also to try to paint the picture that I'm too good of a person to have ever done sexual assault. But that is totally, again, transparent lying. It didn't mean it didn't mean, oh no, it's a drinking game back in the 80s. We all know what that means. We all know what that means. It's almost like going back to the, to the Renata alumnist in his yearbook, right? That whole thing. It's like going back to that. Oh no, that just meant I respected her a lot as friends. Me and my 14 buddies, we just respected Renata so much that we called ourselves Renata alumnus and then didn't tell her about it. She found out about it. She was pissed. So what? She withdrew her endorsement of Kavanaugh in his character after finding that out. We all know what that means. We all know what these terms actually mean. It's almost as if he is trying to gaslight the country. Oh no, that doesn't mean what you think it means. It's completely innocent. I'm completely innocent. I'm nothing but a choir boy. And I was just so good. I maybe have had a beer or two. I like beer. Nobody's buying it. This is nonsense. Nonsense, bullshit. Again, if he's going to lie about these things, what else? What else will Kavanaugh lie about? I leave that question to you, America. All right. Moving forward on the same vein here. So yesterday, Brett Kavanaugh testified about his high school days, and they asked him a lot of questions. Some interesting questions, and some interesting terms came up during the course of this hearing. One of them being Devil's Triangle. Another one being, of course, boof. Interesting terms. A lot of people took to Google to try to find out what they actually meant. And actually, a lot of people also ended up at Wikipedia. Now, interesting story here from CNN is that somebody had allegedly changed Wikipedia entries to fit what Brett Kavanaugh had said they were. Because again, he said, oh no, Devil's Triangle, what that actually means is that's just a drinking game. Yeah, it's just a drinking game. And boof is just nothing but flatulence, right? It doesn't mean what you think it means. And here someone goes and changes Wikipedia to reflect that. Fascinating. Now, what's even more fascinating about this is who changed it. We don't know who exactly changed it, but we do know that it was an IP address located in Capitol Hill. Now, according to this report, somebody on Capitol Hill operating from a congressional IP address decided to update Wikipedia to include an entry for Devil's Triangle, a popular drinking game enjoyed by friends of Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Now, we didn't see this before. No. It just appeared there yesterday. Now, Congress Edits is a Twitter bot that tracks Wikipedia updates from congressional IP addresses. Now, since they were found out, that entry has been removed. Other congressional Wikipedia editors were also posting the DC addresses of Republicans and the Senate Judiciary Committee to the site. Those two have been removed. So, okay, that's good. I'm not in favor of doxing anybody, but at the same time, what are you doing? Somebody in the DC area is literally going in and changing the wiki to back up Judge Kavanaugh. That is super desperation. To back up Kavanaugh's bullshit lie. Holy hell, man. Wow. That's how desperate they are to push this guy through. Again, I ask, if they're willing to lie about these things, Devil's Triangle and boofing, which, by the way, wasn't flatulence, but it did involve something to do with your ass. What else are you willing to lie about? Okay. So that's it on that. Let's move on. Actually, I want to take a quick break here. We will come back. We got two non-Kavanaugh related stories, including the little twisty twist on climate change coming from the Trump administration and student loans. So stay right here. We'll be right back. Around the Nation. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Around the Nation right here, Jeff Waldorf. Okay, we're going to check the subscriber drive, see where we're at when it comes to getting to 90,000 subscribers. So we were last at about 89,200. We're about 89,206. So please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Help us out. So, okay. Anyway, let's move on. We got a couple stories to go. All right. Now, the Trump administration and Republicans at large are very skeptical when it comes to climate change. In fact, Donald Trump had previously said during his campaign, climate change is a Chinese hoax. So the Chinese come up with climate change in order to hurt American businesses and make us non-competitive in the world. So it's all China's fault. Okay, China, they came up with climate change to hurt us. That contradicts with a new report released by the Trump administration that predicts some very, very dire consequences to the environment by the year 2100. In fact, this came out last month in a draft environmental impact statement. And it says that the planet will warm by 7 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100. So the Paris Climate Agreement, if you guys remember, that was supposed to keep global temperatures under 2 degrees by 2100. 7. That's the number that we're heading for. Now, among the consequences in this report, they said that coral reefs would dissolve due to the acidity in the ocean. Extreme heat waves would plague the globe. Coastal cities would be at risk of being underwater. Now, this is according to the Washington Post, which reported on this prediction. Now, it was contained in a 500-page draft environmental impact statement. So that's terrible, okay? Dissolving coral reefs, acidic oceans, cities underwater. Florida's going to be underwater. Disaster. And look, along with that, of course, the flooding and the heat waves, you're going to have massive migration. So you think the immigration problem is bad now. You think the refugee problem is terrible. Just wait until climate change makes a lot of areas that are currently habited uninhabitable. Well, it's going to be an absolute disaster, right? So you would think that, okay, the Trump administration is now admitting they're putting out this report that is a problem. Maybe we should do something to solve that problem. Well, here comes the twisty twist. The whole argument for this report is, I mean, your future is looking really, really bad. So that's why we shouldn't do anything about it. Wait, what? The draft statement, according to The Hill, was written to defend President Trump's decision to freeze federal fuel efficiency standards for light trucks and cars built after 2020. So here we've got these regulations, right, that basically, help fuel efficiency standards, help our cars use less gas and therefore put out less emissions that contribute to climate change. The Trump administration is saying, what difference is it gonna make? No, let's get rid of these regulations because we're already screwed. It largely declared that the planet's ultimate fate has already been determined and that little can be done about it. That is an amazing twist. It went from climate change is a hoax created by the Chinese. It's actually not real. Jim Inhofe goes and gets a fucking snowball from outside and says, climate change, what? No, I got a snowball. Checkmate libtards. And now the administration is saying, oops, it's real. We're fucked. Let's go dig some coal. That's amazing. Wow. Now, according to Michael McCracken, who served as a senior scientist at the U.S. Global Change Research Program, told the Washington Post, quote, the amazing thing they're saying is human activities are going to lead to the rise of carbon dioxide that is disastrous for the environment and society. And then they're saying, we're just not going to do anything about it. Now, the statement analyzes that carbon emissions would have to be steeply cut in order to prevent the warming, adding that such an action would require substantial increases in technology, innovation, and adoption compared to today's levels and would require the economy and vehicle fleet to move away from the use of fossil fuels, which is not currently technologically feasible or economically feasible. Hey guys, so we set up a system where oil runs our entire society. We've known about this problem for decades. We should have been researching the problem, or I should say solutions to the problem, for decades. We didn't. We decided to pour more money into oil subsidies and propping up coal industries, which is what the Trump administration is trying to do right now, and even being denied by some of their judges. And now they're saying, you know what? We should have done that, but we didn't. And we just don't want to do anything now. Let's just embrace the fucking apocalypse. Wow. There are almost no words for how much of a disaster that is. And to say that it's currently technologically not feasible, nor is it economically feasible, is also bullshit, by the way. So right now, wind energy actually costs less than coal. And yet we're propping up the coal industry. Not only that, but solar continues to get cheaper and cheaper. And the Trump administration, through its tariffs, has actually made it more expensive to get solar panels imported into the United States. Because we got to stick it to China. We are shooting ourselves in the foot when we could actually do this. Electric vehicles. There are currently states that have banned companies like Tesla, for example, that sell electric cars from being able to sell them and have dealerships in their states. We're offering little to no advantages or tax incentives for driving or creating more efficient electric vehicles that could cut down. And look, even though, and this is a fatalistic view of this report, they're saying, well, since we can't, solve the 7-degree warming and completely eliminate carbon, then we shouldn't do anything. That's a bullshit argument too. Just because we can't completely 100% solve the problem doesn't mean we shouldn't take measures to reduce the impact that we're going to have. There is a way that you can do this without completely wrecking the economy. We do have the technology. There is a way to not wreck the economy. We can do massive investments into, alternative energy and massive infrastructure projects into, for example, ocean wind farms and gigantic solar farms that could drastically cut our emissions of carbon into the atmosphere. Instead, we're doing the complete opposite. And the Trump administration is absolutely 100% fine with this. Because, as usual, they continue to put the needs and the desires of oil companies, coal companies, and executives over the environment and over the health and well-being of human beings. Again, this doesn't just affect the environment. We live in the environment. It affects us too. You destroy the environment, you destroy humanity. But this is what we have from the Trump administration. This is a critical point in human history. Even the Republicans in the Trump administration are saying, look, man, we've got disaster coming. Iceberg dead ahead. But in the same vein, they're also saying, Let's just run full steam into that iceberg. What's the worst that could happen? We'll all be dead anyway. And a lot of you watching will also be dead by 2100. But all that stuff won't just happen when the year turns from 2099 to 2100. It's all going to happen very slowly, but it's also happening right now. And it's going to get worse every year. Worse and worse and worse, eventually till we get to that point. So maybe we should actually, instead of letting it get worse, fix the problem as we go. That was the whole point of the Paris Climate Agreement. That is the whole point of all of President Obama's measures to try to curb climate change. That was the whole point. But every step of the way, the Trump administration has undone everything. Because all they care about is short-term profit. That's it. That's what they've always cared about. That's why they continue to bury the science on climate change, even though they know that oblivion is staring us right in the face. We got to get these guys out. We got to get money out of politics, or else we're not going to be able to ever do anything on the environment. And we've got to do it now before it is too late. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. I know I promised the student loan story, but we can do that on Monday. Because I'm sure students will also still be fucked by Monday, by this ruling. So we'll talk about it later when we have more time. All right, guys. Thank you. Make sure to like and share if you haven't already. Consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation. I want to thank everybody for the super chats. Thank you. That helps out a ton. Thanks everybody for the comments and keeping the discussion civil. All right, everybody. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, guys. We'll see you on Monday.